Você que está ouvindo esse podcast, o que acha de uma empresa que sempre trabalha para trazer impacto positivo? Assim é o Google. Como? A Duda da Orbi é um exemplo disso. Ela usa a inteligência artificial para ajudar pessoas a recuperarem seus movimentos. É a tecnologia mais útil na vida das pessoas. E tem o Jefferson da Tributei, que usa inteligência artificial para facilitar o dia a dia das empresas. Eles e milhares de empreendedores geraram mais de 188 bilhões com as plataformas do Google. Tem que ser bom para todo mundo.
Hello, everyone. It's time for Van Chicagoland Stories, the podcast. I'm your host, Pete Costanis. This is episode 359, season 15. Today's date is September 3rd, 2024, and welcome to the show. In today's program, I'm going to talk about my memories of Ben Franklin stores. They were once prominently, excuse me, in the Chicagoland area. Also, I'll talk about actor Gary Coleman because he was from Chicago. Actually, he was from Zion, Illinois. I want to talk about his biography, my memories of watching him on television, and his life after different strokes. So it's quite interesting. Okay. Right now, the program will go into a commercial break. And this program is brought to you by Plymouth Fury, and this is from 1977. And this features actor James Darren, who passed away yesterday at the age of 88. And you may remember him from movies, TV. I'll talk about his career as well and my memories of watching him mostly on television. And also a singer. A good singer. He was a great singer, excuse me. So sit back and relax, and I'll be right back with the show, folks. Thank you.
Way out here, they got a car that moves like wind around me. Wind is free as free can be, and they call this car the Fury. The new Plymouth Fury, as fresh and different as America today, with a new optional lean burn engine, computer controlled for smooth performance. The Fury, come ride the wind, the Fury. This 1977 Fury is as lean as it looks, but inside, it's like a wide open space. Fury.
Okay, everyone, I am back. I hope you enjoyed the commercial for Plymouth Fury. That's from 1977. Features James Darren. That car, they no longer make it. It was introduced in 1955 from the Plymouth, car company. The Dodge and what's the other one? Chrysler. And that lasted until 1989. So, and they also had another car called the Grand Fury, the Sport Fury, and all that. I remember these when I was a kid. I used to see them. They were beautiful, beautiful cars, nice, big, roomy cars like that. The man who was the actor who was speaking in the commercial was none other than James Darren. And he passed away yesterday at the age of 88. He had a long career, starting from the late 1950s, starting in films, television. He was a singer. You may remember him as Moondoggie from the Gidget movies. I think he only did one, I believe. Maybe he did. I'm not sure. Because I remember Yeah, he did about he did about a couple. Yeah, he did about a couple of movies. As Moondoggy, and then he recorded songs like "Goodbye Cruel World" and what was the other songs he sang? Then he was featured on the Flintstones. I remember that. So yeah, but he did a lot of television. Oh yeah, you saw him. He wasn't a great actor. He was okay, but women seem to love him like that. He was also famous for the TV show Time Tunnel as Dr. Tony Newman. That started one season on ABC. That's like WLS TV in Chicago. Or is it WBKB? I think it was that. When I was a little kid, I think about 5 or 6 years old, I used to see the beginning of the show and I go, wow, with the crazy kaleidoscope, weird stuff. And I go, what the heck is that? And it was the Time Tunnel. I didn't watch the show. I discovered the show later. I think they aired the reruns on Channel 9 later on. And then it disappeared, and then it just resurfaced like on Channel 50 on WPWR. So the TV show was released on DVD years ago, and I bought it and I watched it about twice. It's a very good show. Him and Robert Colbert. I can't think of his name. The character's name. They go back in time inadvertently, and the people that were working on a time tunnel tried to get him back, and they couldn't. It was hard, but they kept jumping from time to time. Every different areas. In the history. And they met some very interesting people. That was fascinating. It was a good show, but it was. I guess the ratings were doing well. So then he's also famous for T.J. Hooker. T.J. Hooker. He was there for about 3 years. He played Officer Jim Corrigan. He was good in that, and he continued acting until the 90s. And the last acting job was Star Trek, Deep Space Nine. He was there for a few episodes. His son is Jim Murray. You may know him as a TV reporter. Seen him on TV like that. So my condolences to the family. He was a great. He was a marvelous actor. We will all miss him. Okay. At the beginning of the program, I mentioned I'm going to talk about, Ben Franklin stories, and then I'm going to talk about actor Gary Coleman. Before I get started, just want to mention nothing new this week. Labor Day was yesterday. We had a nice barbecue, and the weekend was gorgeous and all that. So, and my health is doing okay. So nothing new. We're okay. So we could do the show. Good. All right. So now we're going to talk about Ben Franklin. The stores, that is, not the Statesman. And this was a chain of 5 and dime and arts and crafts stores. They were first found in small towns, not in big cities. And then it then started expanding. And I think the first store, it was first founded in 1877, a long time ago, as Butler Brothers. That's what it was. And so it was like a retailer store, and it was based in Chicago. Well, that was interesting. And then in 1927, it became Ben Franklin. And his slogan was what Ben Franklin used to say: "A penny saved is a penny earned," which is true. And so they popped up everywhere, and not just Chicago, but all over the country. And what they sold was mostly arts and crafts, and then they expanded to other items, school supplies. What else? Clothes. anything, greeting cards, you name it. They did all that. Excuse me, I'll drink some water. Okay. And so my memories of this store would kind of vague because when I lived in South Shore or Roseland, I didn't see these stores. No, I didn't see them. When I moved to Ashburn, I didn't see them either. The closest one I saw Ben Franklin was in Palos Heights. It was 123rd Street in South Harlem, and it was there for years, many, many years. And also, you noticed like on the outside the store, they had the key, remember with Ben Franklin with the key that's tied with a kite and he discovered electricity. Like that. Some were big stores, some were little stores. You find them in downtown areas, in the main shopping areas. And so I used to shop there quite not often. My mom maybe once or a couple of times, but she wasn't very familiar with the store. She told me it was kind of far away to shop. So, and I remember the commercials and all that. Then there was some competition. So, then they filed for bankruptcy in the early 1990s, and then they closed the stores probably in the early 2000s or something like that. But there's still some lingering around, a couple of them in the United States. Maybe it could be that. So, but I don't think there are any more in Chicago. In the Chicagoland area. No, I don't think so. I think they were gone. Other locations people mentioned, there was one in Riverdale, Illinois. There was a couple on Archer Avenue, west of near Harlem. Some on the north side. They were. And there was one in Westmont, Illinois, Downers Grove. They were everywhere. I'm not going to name all the locations because there were so many. They were scattered like that. But I did find a newspaper clipping on some of them, on some locations. Like in the 50s. So, like, for example, they were just some on the east side, west side, like that. And so let's see what we got here. Okay. Here we go. Mostly on the south side. This is an ad from 1975. And there was one in Riverdale on 144th Street. There was one on Harlem at 123rd. There was also on I forgot about this one. This was on 111th Street near Oak Park in Worth. Yeah, I remember that. Sure. One in Chicago Heights, Homewood, Country Club Hills, Glenwood, Homewood, Midlothian, Tinley Park, Lemont, Chicago Heights. So they kept closing them. They reopened them. So it's, open, close, open, close. That's how it was. Anyway, so, but people liked the store. They really did. And I remember they had the baskets where, just like Woolworths did, you would walk in, it's like a big shopping cloth bag, and then you put your items in, and then you carry it. They had shopping carts too. And then you take your items out to the checkout line, and then, like that. I find a lot of memorabilia on eBay. I really do. And you find shopping bags, toys, mostly Christmas time. They had Santa Clauses, like for decorations. They had that. So that's kind of cool. It's kind of nice. Okay. So that's it for Ben Franklin stores. And right now I'm going to talk about Gary Coleman. Now you're wondering why I'm choose to talk about him. A couple of reasons. One, he is a Chicagoan, sort of. I mean, he was born in Zion, Illinois. His birth date was February 8th, 1968. And we all know him from from Different Strokes. But before that, we knew him as the kid with the Huber doll from Harris Bank. And they played that all the time in the 1970s. And he was shown in commercials, magazine ads, all kinds of ads like that. And he was so cute like that. And he did I remember one commercial at the end, he said, "You should buy a Huber doll." That's how he talked. Like that. So how he got discovered, he was like modeling for clothes, and I think his parents, actually they were his adopted parents. They just figured, they took him for an audition and he got it, and he says, "We'd like to put him in a few commercials." Now, I think that was the only commercial he did. I don't know about other ones. And so then he got cast as the kid with the Hubert doll. And I remember he's reading a book to Hubert, in the chair. And then he did his first television role was in the TV drama Medical Center, if you remember that from the 1970s. I used to watch that when I was a kid. That's with Chad Everett. And then more roles came, like, for example, his most memorable role, besides Different Strokes, was Good Times. He played Gary, and he was so mischievous and a brat, He would just bust into the door and started calling people names, and he was so sassy. I love those episodes. He was there like for a couple, and one memorable episode was Florida Evans, played by Esther Roll, wanted to be a school bus driver. But there was Balderman Davis. He just wanted to hire someone else, probably a niece or something like that. And, politics, you understand that. She wanted the job, and she had no experience as a bus driver. But then Gary comes in, starts insulting, and he gave her a rough time. That is the woman, and then he pulled her wig off, and the audience started yelling and screaming. Oh, it was hilarious, and he's throwing insults. But only Florida, calmed him down, and show him you got to be respectful. You can't talk to people like that. So that was funny. That was a funny episode. Yeah, he did other guest spots. Then he did Different Strokes, and that show started in 1978. And then he started as Arnold Jackson, and there was Willis Jackson, played by Todd Bridges. And, of course, Dana Plato played Kimberly Drummond, and, of course, Conrad Bain as Philip Drummond. And it was a big hit. And you know why it was a big hit? Because of Gary Coleman. Because you couldn't take your eyes off of him. You're waiting for what he's going to say. He had the best lines, The show wasn't that, it wasn't Emmy material, but it was very entertaining, and he was a great kid. And of course he had health issues. He had with the kidney function, with his kidneys, he had kidney failure, and he had like 2 operations, and that was so sad. And he didn't grow. He matured, he got older, but he never grew. So that's sad. That's very sad about that. Anyway, the show lasted from 1978 to 1986. Then the last year went from the NBC to ABC. By that time, Gary Coleman didn't want to do that anymore. He says, "I'm tired. I'm not growing. They still want me to be a kid." And he was right. This is silly. And of course, his famous catchphrase was, "What you talking about, Willis?" It's funny like that, but then it gets a little tiresome. But he said when he said it the first time, it just caught on, and people said that, and it's hilarious. But later on, it got tiresome and tedious, like that. And Gary Coleman said one time, "I'm tired of saying that." He was right. He was a mature man. Why would he do that? And he struggled after that, to find more success. But he was typecast. He was just typecast in that role, and it was so sad. But he did some movies. I remember Jimmy the Kid. That was very successful. He also had a cartoon series, The Gary Coleman Show. I used to watch that. They loved his voice like that. So he was very bankable like that. And some people might find him annoying, but I didn't. He was a bright young person. He really was. And then he got into legal troubles after that, with his parents. He sued them because of mismanagement with funds and all that. And it's just awful. It really was. Which leads me to believe, this goes to the documentary that I watched Sunday night. And it was called Gary. And it's airing on Peacock right now. If you cared to watch it, if you're interested, it was very good and very sad. They talked about his upbringing, where he was born. There were people interviewed. Todd Bridges was interviewed. His wife was interviewed. I'm suspicious about her. His former girlfriend, his agent, people that worked with him, and they show clips, most from different strokes, which is good, and they also showed the Harris Bank commercial, which was fat. That was awesome. I'm glad they did that. And so I watched it, and it was so sad. And towards the end, so I don't know exactly. He had no kidneys for about 25 years. They just evaporated. They were gone. He survived. He went on into dialysis forever. He went like 2 or 3 times a week. It's so sad. It's terrible. And he was interviewed at shows, and they always asked him to do that catchphrase, and most of the time he refused. He didn't want to do it. I don't blame him. I don't blame him at all like that. So then he became a security guard, and then he got into trouble because he assaulted somebody. Then he went to court, and it was a mess, So that was he had a very turbulent life, In the beginning, he was okay, but then it just fell apart like that. And he didn't speak to his parents ever. I don't think so. They were estranged. So that's sad like that. So that's bad like that. And so let me double check something really quick. Okay. Yeah, just a moment, please, and I'll find out because I want to find out some info. If you're a big fan of, Gary Coleman, you just, like I said before, just make sure you watch the documentary. It's very good. It really is. And, okay. Anyway, that's all right. So right now, I'm going to play the commercial for Harris Bank. Features Gary Coleman. This is from in the mid-1970s. I'll say 74, 75. I played this commercial before when I did the podcast episode about Harris Bank. And it features Gary Coleman. And then once you hear the commercial, you will hear his voice. You would instantly recognize him. Yes, you would. You will recognize him. Not would, will. You will do that. Okay. So here's the Harris Bank commercial featuring Gary Coleman. And just sit back and relax, and I'll be right back. Excuse me. Well, I'll be right back and wrap up the show. Okay. Thank you.
It's that time of the year when you can get a Hubert doll at the Harris Bank. Just open a savings account with $200 or more. Or add $200 to a savings account you already have. If you got a Hubert doll in past years, get another one. You know, you can never have too many Hubert dolls, 'cause you can never save too much money.
You should have a Harris banker.
You should have a Hubert doll.
Okay, everyone, I'm back. I hope you enjoyed the commercial for Harris Bank featuring Gary Coleman. And I found out what the year was. It was 1977, a year before he started Different Strokes. The show, you could watch reruns on TV. You could buy the DVD, stream it. It's everywhere. You know, one time I was surfing my television. I stumbled upon it. Or on YouTube, and they have clips, and I started watching, and I'm still laughing at them. It's just it's the way he makes faces too. It's hilarious. When he was a little kid back then, and then but when he got older, he got mature and all that. So times change. Before I wrap up the show, I want to mention one thing. He died on May 28th, 2010. And this is what happened. He lived in Utah with his wife, and he fell down the stairs, and he slipped, and he hit his head, and he had a hemorrhage, and there was blood all over the place, and they rushed him to the hospital, and he was on life support. And then I think she made the decision, to take him off. That's what she said. I don't know. But the documentary featured his parents too, and I don't know, because according to news sources, they mismanaged his money and agents and stuff like that. It was horrendous. They took him to court and all that. It was awful. You got to be careful. When you become a child star in Hollywood, it looks and seems, it seems glamorous, exciting. You got to be careful. You got to be very careful, because there's a lot of pain they endure, and they try to. And Gary Coleman once said he wanted to live a normal life, and he tried to, but he was too typecast. He really was. Yeah, so that's a shame. So that's so sad about that. But again, just check out the documentary for Gary on Peacock. I don't know how long it'll be there, but it was very good. I liked it very much. Okay. All right. So that's it for this show. I'll do a wrap up of what I talked about. I talked about Ben Franklin, I'm tongue-tied. Blah, blah, blah. The Ben Franklin stores and in the Chicagoland area. Also, actor Gary Coleman. This podcast will be published today wherever podcasts are available. Like, for example, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Amazon Music, Breaker, Overcast. If you have those apps on your phone or your tablet, tap on those. Tap on follow, and you'll get the latest episode. Also, you can listen to previous episodes if you like. You will receive a notification to listen. Also, it's also on my blog, www.chicagoland.blog. You can click on that. Click any episode you like. It'll take you right to it. Also on my YouTube channel. Again, people ask me, where do I find your podcast? Where do I find your podcast? You find it on my YouTube channel under Van Chicagoland Stories, the podcast, or under my name, Pete Costanis. Tap subscribe, click on subscribe. You will get the latest episode. You'll receive a notification. You can listen to the previous episodes if you'd like. Also, it'll be shared on my social media accounts, Facebook, X, LinkedIn, Reddit, Instagram, Blue Sky, TikTok. What's the other one? Threads. I think I got them all. I think. Okay, so this was a very interesting show. I didn't think it would be. Boy, was I wrong. All right, so I'll probably do another podcast episode this weekend. Probably. We'll see. Okay, so this is Pete Costanos, your host for Vanishing Chicagoland Stories, the podcast. Thank you for joining me. Today is a very nice day. So here's bye-bye for me, and here's a little traveling music from Ray Rayner saying bye, bye, bye. Take care, everyone, and so long.
We have to go. Bye, bye, bye.